So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here by BSN Network. Kaduki back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network Podcast here today. It is Monday, May 3rd here today. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Monday, May 3rd here today. We are coming out of the weekend. NFL draft has officially concluded. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The NFL draft is officially over, is officially concluded, and, undrafted free agency, obviously began obviously after the draft and stuff, and, teams, made their final roster moves and made their final little decisions, here and there, and now we head into, in about a month from now is when they're going to start training camp, and now they're going to start OTAs, and, slowly you're going to get back into the football groove again, and, obviously that will all start off with training camp that starts in June, which is where, you got practices, training camp. It's training camp. It's a bunch of just practices, that's when, players and practice squad guys all come together and, you obviously ultimately try to get your spot onto the team and all that stuff. So that's what training camp is. It goes all the way up until really the first week of the season, until you have a week of practice, which is then considered practice at that point. So training camp goes all throughout the summer and then into September. So that will be starting up very soon, which is very good. I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited that baseball season's around. I'm excited that summer's around the corner. But, it's obviously also exciting, especially, as a Jets fan, with a lot of new pieces on this roster, excited to see how it fits, excited to see how it goes, excited to see, what these guys look like in green and white and, how these guys perform. And you get a very good idea of how a player is going to do based on training camp. And you really do. If a guy's, really heating up in training camp, you see the passion, you see the effort, you're like, okay, man, this guy looks like he might have a good year this year. And if you see a guy that might be lollygagging, might not look as good, might come in not as, might come in a little lazy, with his weight and stuff, you might be like, all right, well, this guy, what's up with him, right? And you could really tell that, what players come in prepared and obviously, what players don't. And we obviously, as Jets fans and as all NFL fans, you want guys that come in prepared, ready to play. So that stuff's right around the corner. It is the start of May, so I look at it this way with the MLB season. April, right, you kind of have that trial month. It's kind of that month of, knocking off the rust. You kind of have, knocking off the rust. You're kind of just, getting the lineup ready and all that stuff. Still mixing and mashing, figuring out what works. Now we're in May. So there's no more excuses, I really believe. Not that I really was making any excuses in April with the Yankees or any MLB team, but there's really no excuses now that we're in May. We're officially 1 month into the MLB season, right? We're 1 month in. And there's really no excuses at this point that it's only a couple games into the year. No. The Yankees, they're 28 games into the season, right? The season's going along. They're cruising. They're rolling. The Yankees have a day off today. They play tomorrow. They open up a 3-game set tomorrow, home against the Astros. So, there's no more of that excuse, though. So May, June baseball is really when it gets into the full dog days, the full grind. It's like every day there's a game. That's really when you get into it. And it starts in May. So I'm excited it's May because baseball season now finally gets into full swing. It's like, all right, this is it. You got to be rolling right now. This is it. There's none of that April stuff that, he's still warming up. The weather's getting warmer. Your bats should be getting warmer. Teams should start to get better. That's obviously what May's all about. So that's exciting. To kind of recap the weekend, obviously we had the NFL draft. Obviously, like I mentioned, I'm going to give my final thoughts today on the NFL draft, obviously, because I'm not going to talk about it all throughout the week. I mean, the NFL draft happened. It was awesome. I really liked it. They did it well. I was a little interested at the first part of how they were going to do the whole virtual to then having having players in person, because you got a guy that might have announced it, but then you're going to have someone in virtual, but then you might have a guy that comes on. It was a little weird. It was a little different, obviously. obviously. But, hey, they did it well. The NFL did it well. It was great to see people back at the NFL draft. It was great to see players go up there and, shake Roger Goodell's hand and then, obviously, get their jersey and all that stuff. So that was exciting. It was a great draft. Definitely some surprises, without a doubt. I think everyone can agree that there was definitely some surprises in the NFL draft. But overall, it was a good draft, so we'll get into that. But, to recap the weekend, Rangers had a day off yesterday. The Nets lost yesterday. The Yankees got the win. The Rangers took a tough loss on Saturday. If we lose tonight, we're officially eliminated from the playoffs. Now, if we win tonight and Boston loses, we're still mathematically in. I believe the Rangers, in order for us to make the playoffs, because I believe if the Bruins win, they're in. I believe with the Rangers, they got to win out and the Bruins have got to lose out. So it's not going to happen. The Rangers right now, their playoff hopes are pretty much done. They're all but done. It's pretty much all of it. I mean, the Rangers now, for these final 3 games of the season, 4 games left, they're calling in some of the young guys. Morgan Barron from... he was one of our prospects. They're calling in the young guys. So they're kind of realizing now, like, hey, our playoff run's come to an end. There's, 4 games left in the season. After today's game, there will only be 3 games left in the season. Let's see what these guys are all about. Get ready for next year. So that's kind of that mindset. But today the Rangers play. Other than that, the Yankees have a day off. Nets have a day off. Rangers play today. So not a crazy amount of action tonight in sports for New York sports. Knicks, I know, play today as well. But obviously, the Rangers play. As a Rangers fan, I'm still going to be rooting heavily for a win. I know there's some fans out there that might say, oh, well, now it's all about draft lottery position. No. I would love to see us go out, win these final 4 games. I know it doesn't carry over to the next season, but finish the season on a high note, right? It's nothing better than, if you're not going to make the playoffs, obviously, which is obviously frustrating for all teams and fans, but if you're not going to make the playoffs, I think the second best thing is to at least end the season on a high note and obviously, finish off strong. And I think the Rangers will hopefully try and do that today, whether that's winning our final game of the year, whether that's winning 3 of the next 4, whether that's going 1-4 or 1-3 in the next games and the final win and the one win comes on the last game. Whatever the case may be, I would love us to finish off the season strong, 2-2, 3-1, preferably 4-0, but obviously just hope that the Rangers can, finish the season off strong and, we look ahead to next season. It's going to be an exciting offseason for the Rangers. We got a lot of stuff we got to do. Next year, I really believe, is a playoff or bust type season for the New York Rangers. I really do. I think next season this is going to be a team that's going to have to make the playoffs or else there's definitely going to be some changes in the front office. So, with all that being said, these are topics for today. We got the NFL draft recap. Like I mentioned, I'll give you some of my thoughts on the draft. I really wanted to hone in on, obviously, the Jets and the Giants. Give you all of their picks from round 1 all the way to their last pick in the NFL draft, wherever that was. So I want to get into that. I'm not going to go over every single pick in the draft and do analysis on it, but I will tell you what I liked, about the draft, some of the picks that were obviously there. But, I really wanted to hone in on the Jets and the Giants, really, obviously to, kind of end off the NFL draft here. Obviously, I talked about it pretty much all last week and then into Monday. So kind of wrap up the NFL draft with the recap and really hone in on the Jets and the Giants and really talk about their picks. And I also want to do a little bit of a roster preview in a way, like kind of, where are these new picks going to go, kind of, blending them in, where is this guy going to go, where is this guy going to go, where are they on the depth chart. So I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a roster update, see the talent that was added, and I wanted to talk about it. So we'll get into that. Then we're going to get into a Yankees update. I decided to do these like kind of weekly or, every once in a while here. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a Yankees update. Even though I talk about them every day, I do give you my game pick. But other than that, I don't talk about them in depth that much. And the Yankees right now are rolling. We're 7-3 in our last 10. We're finally starting to hit the ball. And we're finally starting to look like a competent baseball team. And obviously at the beginning of the season, we were not hitting well. We were not really doing anything well. We weren't pitching well outside of Garrett Cole. Now we're finally pitching well. Now we're finally hitting well. I'll tell you how this is exciting for the Yankees. It is great, but I would love to see us do this against some high-quality opponents and get some big wins coming up. So we'll get into that. Then we'll get into the New York Sports Update. Finish it all off. Like I mentioned, Rangers play today. Nets day off. Yankees day off. So I'll be watching the Rangers tonight. Like I said, playoffs are pretty much in the rear view at this point. I don't think we're going to make it. As much as I would hope we do, we literally need a miracle. Talk about a miracle. We need it right now. But still hope we can finish the season off strong, so we'll get into all that. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So the 2021 NFL Draft has officially come to a close. Obviously my thoughts on it. Obviously, all 259 selections are officially in the books. Obviously, a lot of teams made a lot of, different moves. I got to admit, I don't know if anyone has this stat. This might be just some useless stat that someone might have, and I don't know if someone has it. But I got to tell you what, I really think this might be up there with drafts that I at least remember. We're going back a couple years here. At least drafts that I remember. This has got to be up there for the most trades in an NFL draft. There was so many trades. And like I said, I'm going to give you kind of my overview on the draft, kind of give you a couple things, then I'll really get into the Jets and the Giants. But there was so many trades in this NFL draft. There really was. I mean, I was sitting there, a couple times, during the draft, I'm sitting there because I watched, obviously, rounds 1 and rounds 2 and 3. Rounds 4 and 5 and 6 and, obviously all that stuff and all that. I obviously watched, the later rounds too. But, as it got to the late rounds, and the Jets stopped picking and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to watch this much more. Stuff like that. But, definitely there was a lot of trades. And even, like I said, when you get into the later rounds, and sometimes you don't always see that, where a team will randomly trade a pick, and sometimes you don't see that. And obviously, the reason you might see that is because it gets late. It gets to later rounds. A lot of times, teams feel that what they picked, the guys that they took, are obviously the guys that they wanted to take, and obviously the answers. And when it gets to the later rounds, and you're kind of just drafting players, sometimes you don't see as many trades go down because you're like, I don't really find the need to trade here to just go out and get maybe a guy that was maybe supposed to be, maybe I don't know, whatever the case may be. But there was even trades late in the round. And sometimes teams, not saying they get lazy, but sometimes when you get around to the 200s, 220s, you don't see many trades. You kind of just teams going about their business, taking players. More than likely, those guys probably won't start unless of injuries or unless if they have a big training camp or unless if a team's just that thin at that position, which they probably would have took earlier in the draft. But still fun. It's still fun to watch, and it's still cool to see trades. So there is definitely, and I think, NFL fans can agree. There was definitely some surprising moves. There was definitely some surprising things that happened. There was definitely some, I could just name one off the top of my head. I was surprised that Trey Lance got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. I was surprised. I really was. I was not expecting him to get drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. I could see it happening, but I had Mac Jones. So there was definitely some surprises. Another surprise with the Giants pick, Kadarius Toney. That was a surprising pick, right? We knew they were going to, when they got back to number 20, I was thinking offensive line. A lot of other NFL fans and Giants fans were thinking offensive line. And if they were going to go receiver, I was thinking someone else. They ended up taking Kadarius Toney. And that was very surprising. And, even the Jacksonville Jaguars taking ETN. And I get it, he's Trevor Lawrence's teammate at Clemson and all that, and he's very talented. But they've got James Robinson, who had a very good year last year, was up there in the league, and it was one of the better running backs last season in the league. When you look at the numbers and he definitely passes the eye test. So there was definitely some surprising picks. I thought too. I definitely thought there was, obviously I was definitely surprised. Now I like the Jets picks, but I was definitely surprised to see the Jets go later with defense. I definitely thought we were going to use our third round pick, or no, not our third, because we gave up both our thirds. Our first, second on defense or wide receiver, I could see, or offensive lineman. We ended up going wide receiver there, which I liked the pick. I definitely liked it, but the Jets did decide. The Jets were, one of those teams that were like, we're going all out on offense. We're going to go ahead, go all out on offense and, see where it takes us. And that's obviously what they did. So there was definitely some surprises. I'm just thinking of some other surprises maybe. I know Bengals, Jamar Chase. Now, that's not really a surprise, but I definitely could see some people maybe saying, why would you not take Sewell when he's right there? What are you doing? And then just thinking of some other things. I know the Bears, there were some rumors about them trading up before the draft, but to be honest, I don't think many of us really thought of them doing it because the Bears tend to say a lot, tend to, say they're going to do a lot, and they don't do. And we've seen that in past drafts, too, with the Bears saying, oh, we're going to trade this, this, and this, and go get this guy, and then, try to go get this guy, and they're the most quiet team in the draft. The Bears did end up trading up and actually taking a quarterback. So it wasn't as so much surprising as more I'm just, sitting there wow. I wasn't really surprised that they did it. I was more just sitting there wow, the Bears actually did do something. All this talk every draft of them going out and doing something, they actually finally lived up to their word and made a trade. And they obviously traded with the Giants, and then obviously took Fields, and then the Giants took Tony, and the Giants got extra picks and stuff like that. And that was another thing, too. I was expecting the Giants to trade out of that spot. I was not expecting it to be the Bears. Now, that's something a lot of people aren't always going to know. You might know a team's going to trade out, but you might not realize that you might not know who that team's going to trade out with. Same thing with Devontae Smith. To see the Eagles trade up to go get Devontae Smith, all I heard for the entire day was Devontae Smith to the Giants, Devontae Smith to the Giants, Devontae Smith to the Giants. And I got to be honest, there was a lot of rumors going around that the Giants were sold on Devontae Smith. And I think the Eagles heard that. The Eagles realized, and they're like, Devontae Smith's not going to be available at number 12. We got to jump up to number 10. They did that. They took Devontae Smith. That forced the Giants to trade back. And I know some Giants fans might say, oh, we still would have traded back. No, I don't believe that. I do think you would have took Devontae Smith. That would have been the smart decision. I think Devontae Smith's the best receiver in the NFL draft. So, definitely some surprises. But all in all, it was a great draft. And I like the surprises. I said this on Thursday. I said it throughout the week last week. I said it really leading up to the draft. You got to hope that there's a lot of action. You got to hope there's trades. You got to hope that there's guys that, obviously get picked in positions you might not get them picked. Because then that makes it fun. You might see a guy that's falling. You're like, oh my gosh, he might get to this. And that's what I was thinking with Elijah Moore. I saw him kept on falling. In the start of day 2, I was like, wow, the Jets could actually look at this guy. I had Elijah Moore on my mock draft as a first-round pick, and I kept on seeing him fall, and I'm like, wow, is he going to fall to the Jets? And I was like, even if he does, I don't know if the Jets go offense here. Sure enough, the Jets take him, and now it's Elijah Moore, who's a big-time threat in the receiving corps, obviously with the Jets now. And I obviously talked a little about Elijah Moore the other day. Obviously said he was going to be a first-rounder. I did say that, he was a very good receiver. I did not think he was the best receiver in the draft. I definitely did say that. And I definitely did say that there might have been some other guys available, but, there was a lot of other guys, like Rashad Bateman. He got first-rounded. Maybe some other guys that were out there, but definitely, I think that he was one of the better guys available for the New York Jets to take there at number 34. So, definitely some surprises. Overall, an exciting draft. Obviously, I think there was a lot of good moves. I definitely think there was a lot of teams that went out and scooped up the needs that they needed to make, and it was overall a fun draft. So, I wanted to do this. I wanted to go through, obviously, I'm not going to go through every single team and dissect every single pick down to every little movement of the player. I'm not going to do that. That would take hours to go through all 259 selections. I can't even think about doing that. Sitting here and talking about all 259 selections. I just want to be able to do it. So I'm going to go through the Jets and the Giants. Now we all know some of the other picks. Trey Lance to the Niners. Obviously Lawrence to the Jaguars and Wilson to the Jets and things like that. We all know those picks, but there was definitely some picks that I'm sure nobody knew happened if you did not watch that. So I'm going to go through the Jets picks first and go through each pick. I'm just going to go through each pick first, and then I'm going to kind of go through what they give us. How they help us, each player. Obviously, Elijah Vera Tucker, AVT, and Zach Wilson, those were two picks that I've already talked about. All the other picks I have not talked about yet because I did not do a podcast over the weekend. Obviously, second round happened on Friday. I uploaded and did my podcast before the draft. So, obviously, I haven't talked about those picks. So, I'll really get into a deep dive on those picks and kind of give you a little bit of my own opinion on the situation with the New York Jets and really kind of talk about their roster and the talent that we added throughout the draft. So let's get into it. So I'm going to go pick by pick here. Like I said, I do think with the Jets and the Giants, they definitely went out and got the needs. Now, one thing with the Jets was, there might be some people, if you really want to critique it, you could go ahead and say, why didn't we go defense earlier? Now, I think we didn't go defense earlier because we kind of did a little bit of what the Miami Dolphins did and Brian Flores did there in Miami. Brian Flores upgraded a lot on offense. He did a lot for the offense. because that was something that he didn't know very well. He's a defensive-minded coach. So he built on what he doesn't know as much about, which is the offense. Now, he still knows the offense. He still knows how to run offenses. He's got to go up against opposing offenses. But what Brian Flores did is he built the side of the ball that's not his side of the ball. He built the side of the ball that he's not really, he's not calling the plays and coaching. The side of the ball that he's calling the plays on and really coaching and really, being really active with those guys, he didn't draft as many players because he knows more about it. He obviously believes that the guys there, he can get the job done with them. Same thing here with Robert Saleh. He's a defensive-minded coach. He was probably sitting there at a draft room saying, hey, we got to build up the offense. And we got Zach Wilson. We've got to build around him too. That's more important than anything, is to build around your franchise quarterback. And that's what the Jets did throughout the draft. And that's one of the big things I really liked what the Jets did. And, there might be some people that say, oh, we should have went defense. Well, what happened to Sam Darnold with the Jets? We didn't build around him enough. And I said this is why I think Zach Wilson's going to work with the New York Jets. Not only is he the Jets franchise quarterback, he's Joe Douglas's quarterback. We've done more to help out Zach Wilson before he's even had one practice with the New York Jets than we did with Darnold in 3 years. And that's big. That's pivotal. So that's why the Jets went offense early and in the free agency continued to really pound the point, really hone in on, we got to build around our quarterback, Zach Wilson. We can't have him turn into the other quarterbacks in New York. This has got to be the guy. That's what the Jets did. So here's pick by pick. So round 1, number 2 overall, the Jets took quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU. No surprise that whatsoever. I already talked about it. Round 1, number 14 overall, they took Elijah Vera Tucker, guard USC. I also call him AVT. That's his nickname. Elijah Vera Tucker. So also I talked about that before. Obviously, a good pick there. Now, this is really when the other picks come out. And I got to admit, the 4th round pick, Michael Carter, running back out of North Carolina, I don't think, you talk about surprises in the NFL draft, I don't think anyone expected him to fall to round 4. Many people expected him to be one of the first running backs off the board. Not saying a first rounder, but second rounder. We got him in the 4th round. He definitely plummeted down. He definitely fell down draft boards a lot. And, that was definitely surprising to me. I said it going into day 2. I was literally talking to someone. I said, if the Jets are going to go offense and we're going to go running back, because I knew that was still a realistic possibility, I want to, definitely look at the North Carolina running back, Michael Carter. And sure enough, we went out, took the North Carolina running back, Michael Carter. Now, I'm going out of order here, but round 2, number 34 overall, Elijah Moore, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Then round 4, like I mentioned, number 107 overall, Michael Carter, running back out of North Carolina. And believe me, to those of you who don't think I've ever seen this guy play, I've seen him play a couple times, actually. I saw him play at North Carolina a couple times. The North Carolina, actually, a lot of games this season on ESPN and nationally televised. I also got to see him destroy Miami. He ran all over Miami. And ever since that game, I've remembered him because he destroyed my team. That was the game against Miami, North Carolina. That game, whoever won that was going to the Orange Bowl. Sure enough, North Carolina stomped all over Miami, and he had a big part of the stomping. To be honest, he single-handedly got the job done. He dominated Miami's defense, and that's a very talented defensive front with, Quincy Roche up there, and then obviously Jalen Phillips. Obviously, Gregory Rousseau, who got drafted, he obviously opted out of the 2020 season. But that's a guy who stomped all over that defense. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Miami fan. Miami had a lot of good talent up front. We had guys that got drafted out of there. Jalen Phillips, edge. He got drafted to the Miami Dolphins. So, a lot of talent up front there. And Michael Carter destroyed it. Round 5, number 146 overall, Jamian Sherwood, linebacker, Auburn. He was listed as a safety at Auburn. We listed him out of the linebacker. So, you see this a lot in modern-day NFL. Guys that might be listed as safeties, they can play linebacker in a nickel set or a 4-3 set, whatever scheme you're running. In this case, he's going to be more of a linebacker type player in Robert Saleh's 4-3 defense. Round 5, number 154 overall, and no, I'm not saying Michael Carter again. Michael Carter, the second defensive back out of Duke. the Jets. Now, no one knows this because no one's really got this in a stat, but many believe that the Jets are the first team in NFL history to take 2 Michael Carters, or take 2 players of the same name. We took Michael Carter in the 4th round and Michael Carter the second in the 2nd round. So I'm going to be honest, I think Michael Carter, the Jets said, the running back Michael Carter, it's going to be so confusing. I'm going to have to figure out a way when talking about the Jets, and if I talk about these guys, I'm going to have to figure out a way to talk about, maybe one of them will be Michael Carter and the other one will be like MC2 or something, or Michael Carter the second. Might just have to say that. But Michael Carter, the running back, the Jets said that there's going to be like an open competition at running back. It's kind of going to be whoever comes in and whoever's completely ready for it. Whoever comes into training camp and is dominating, that's who's going to get it. Whoever has the best training camp. So it could really be anyone. So that's kind of open. But Michael Carter, the second defensive back out of Duke, the Jets go corner here as well. Round 5, number 175 overall, Jason Pinnock, cornerback out of Pittsburgh. Then round 6, number 186 overall, we took Hamza Nasruddin, linebacker, Florida State. Apologize for not nailing his name. He was also listed as a safety, but due to the scheme, he will be playing linebacker. Round 6, number 200 overall, Brandon Eccles, cornerback out of Kentucky. Round 6, number 207 overall, they took Jonathan Marshall, defensive tackle out of Arkansas, which was our final pick of the draft. So the Jets obviously got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players in the draft. So we obviously had 10 picks. We got 10 players. Now, I wanted to say this. I wanted to mention this. So back to the Michael Carter second point. This is just something. This is completely off the topic of obviously just talking about the players. But when I was watching the draft, and they said Michael Carter, running back, North Carolina, I was like, nice. I was like, okay, we do go running back. I was obviously excited because we do go running back, and we're getting a guy that I thought we were going to get in the 5th, 4th, that I thought was going to go in the 2nd round. But I was like, okay, we do go running back here. And all of a sudden, I see Duke highlights, and I'm like, what in the world is this? Now, ESPN was a little behind on the players with doing their highlights, so I was like, okay, maybe they were doing that, but I was like, no, it's the 2nd pick. There's no way they're behind. And they're showing cornerback highlights, so I'm like, okay, there's something wrong here. I was literally sitting there thinking about that. It was about 10, 15 seconds they were showing his highlights. And I'm like, there's something wrong here. Either there was a miscommunication between when the Jets put in the card that said Michael Carter and they put it up. But the thing was, it said Michael Carter running back at the bottom of the screen. Sure enough, the highlights got switched over to Michael Carter, the running back. I didn't even know that Duke player was Michael Carter the second. I didn't even know that. Sure enough, the Jets draft him. And I realized, like, oh, wow, the Jets did draft 2 Michael Carters. And I realized it was the Duke guy. I'm like, that's the guy. I connected it all. It was first, like, just a bunch of random stuff going on. I was like, what's happening? And then by the end of it, I was like, oh, wow. So we did get the guy that showed his highlights earlier. It was so confusing. But the Jets did take 2 Michael Carters. So if you don't know anything about football and you don't know, and if you're trying to grade the Jets draft, I guess you could go off of the fact that we took 2 Michael Carters, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I hope it's a good thing. Hopefully those 2 guys have successful careers here or wherever they go. Whatever their role is here, hopefully they play good. But definitely funny there. So, but to be honest, my overall thing on the NFL draft as the Jets was, hey, I definitely think, going into the second day, I really wanted Shaun Wade, cornerback out of Ohio State. I've seen him play a couple times. Obviously, big-name schools went up against some of the better receivers out there and has been able to shut him down, and he's done really well. I wanted the Jets to take him if we were going to take a cornerback. Now, we didn't, so I don't think it's a terrible thing that we didn't take him. But definitely, if I was the Jets, I would say we nailed our offensive picks. I definitely think that. I love the Zach Wilson pick. AVT pick was good. And then obviously Elijah Moore and Michael Carter were 2 picks that I'm gonna, were 4 picks that definitely. Those are 4 picks that I definitely think are to be impact. I mean, AVT, Wilson, and Elijah Moore will be starters. Michael Carter, it's really going to come down to what he does in training camp. If he shows up at training camp and he's playing well, he'll be the running back in the backfield, lining it up to Wilson on week 1. Now, that we'll find that out shortly here when training camp gets underway, and we'll get the opportunity to see all these guys, play together and practice together. And the picks, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and like I said, I don't know how to always word this, and this is the one part that's tough about talking about the draft is. Because it's not that I don't have any hope in these guys that they're going to do anything. Tom Brady got drafted late, all that stuff. But to be honest, these other guys I don't know too much about. Now, there has been a couple guys that I have heard of. So I did heard of Jamian Sherwood, linebacker out of Alabama. I did hear of him. But other than that, I've not heard of any of the. Michael Carter II, I didn't even really think the Jets were going to target him. Jason Pinnock, cornerback out of Pittsburgh. And then, the other guys as well. Now, like I said, hopefully these guys are big impacts for the team and help them out. But I think really what the Jets were brainstorming here is, hey, we're going in with this mindset, right? We're going to draft a quarterback at number 2 overall. They did that, checked off that box. And the Jets learned from what they did. The Jets learned. They did not build around Sam Darnold well at all. They realized that, hey, we need to build around Zach Wilson. We can't give him, first of all, we can't give him no receivers to throw to. We can't give him that. We got to give him threats on the outside. We also got to give him time in the pocket, because in order to show off his skills, in order for him to play well, he's got to have time in the pocket. He can't be getting the ball and be getting chased right away. And number 3 is ultimately protecting him. You got to make sure he stays healthy, right? That all starts with all the guys. That starts with the offensive line. That's overall as an organization. You got to make sure Zach Wilson is the main guy in this franchise right now. If he turns out to be what he is going to be, he's going to be the face of the franchise. The Jets have to realize they got to build around the face of the franchise. They got to build around him. And the Jets started that yesterday in the draft. And I like that. Or not yesterday in the draft. Over the weekend in the draft. I like that. Taking Elijah Moore. Taking offensive linemen. And I know a lot of Jets fans out there wanted defense. And I can see where you're coming from in the second round. Say, hey, go defense here. Go defense. Corner, please. Corner. I get that. But at the end of the day, what's more important? To me, it's building around your franchise quarterback, giving him assets around him, and giving him time to throw the ball to those assets around him. And the Jets started that too in free agency, getting Corey Davis, getting Keelan Cole, already having Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims. Mims had an excellent year last year when he was healthy. He wasn't healthy all year. He only played a couple games. But if he can stay healthy this season, he's a very solid player. He's definitely a guy that I believe, definitely a guy that I believe is going to be a solid player for the Jets moving forward. So I look at it this way for the New York Jets. We built around Zach Wilson. Now the Jets going into next draft, we have a ton of picks as well. We have 2 first-round picks, just like we did this year, plus some more seconds and all that stuff. I believe next season we even have 11 picks, I believe. So we even have more picks, plus some of the trades we got. So the Jets are going to have a lot of picks next season. And the building around Zach Wilson started now. In free agency, into the draft, and it's going to continue, obviously going to continue. And hey, the Jets look at it this way. Hey, right, we got to build around him. They did that. They're starting to do that, and I like that a lot. And definitely, I got to say, this is probably one of the Jets' better drafts, I would say, for me. Recently, definitely say that. And I think a lot of people can agree with me on that one. This was definitely one of the better drafts. And you heard it. And I'm not sitting here and just saying this because I'm a Jets fan. If you watched 1 minute of the NFL draft on Saturday, I believe, or even just a little bit of it, before the draft even started, like about 5-10 minutes before the draft started, they got asked a question, who do you think won the draft? Who do you think has one of the best drafts so far? And Mel Kiper and the other guy that was there they both said the Jets. I know one of the guys said the Dolphins, and I think he also mentioned the Jets as well. But the one guy said the Jets. And I tend to agree with him. As much as I bash the Jets and say how, much questionable decisions they made, I got to admit, we did what we needed to do. We got offensive linemen, got our quarterback, got a receiver, went out, took a couple defensive guys, got a running back that has shown so much potential, right? The Jets did their job. They did what they needed to do. And they built around Wilson, which was one of the most important parts of this NFL draft. So, overall, a solid draft for the Jets, and I really liked it. So, now let's get into the Giants here. Their draft and their analysis for the picks here. So, the Giants, obviously, I talked about their first overall pick. It was the round 1, number 20 overall, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, Florida. Then round 2, number 50 overall, is Aziz Alari, offensive linebacker, outside linebacker, Georgia. Then round 3 was number 71 overall, it was Aaron Robinson, cornerback out Central Florida. Round 4, number 1 is 16 overall, Ellerson Smith, outside linebacker, Northern Iowa. Then round 6, number 196 overall, Gary Brightwell, running back, Arizona. Round 6, number 201 overall, Rodarius Williams, cornerback, Oklahoma State. And those were the Giants' picks. So, now, I get it. The Giants went out. They took some defense. They took some depth guys. And I'll be honest, round 2, number 50, Aziz Olari, that was a steal. And the Jets and the Giants, I think, both had steals. Now, I had Olari going number 21 overall to the Indianapolis Colts. He fell all the way to the second round, number 50 overall. That's a steal. That's a guy right there that is got so much talent, and you got him in the second round. So that's a guy that's going to be an impact player. Obviously, I talked more on Thursday or Friday about Kadarius Toney. Now, like I said, I get the Giants went into this draft as a kind of open-minded, I feel like, right? The Jets went into the draft with the mindset of, hey, we're getting Wilson, we're building around him. Nothing else. We're getting Wilson, building around him. The Giants went into the draft, I feel like, a little bit more open-minded. They kind of went into the draft of, hey, we could do a couple different things. We could trade the pick. We could draft Devontae Smith. We could take Micah Parsons. We could take an offensive lineman here. We could trade up and take an offensive lineman. Kwity Paye maybe. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Obviously, Smith got taken and all that, and then they obviously traded back. But the Giants went into the draft, I feel like, with more of an open mind. Right? They weren't one of those teams that were head on, knew what they were doing. Not saying the Giants didn't know what they were doing, but they went on to it as kind of like, you know what? Let's see how the draft plays out, and we'll make our decision then. And that's really, I think, what the Giants did. And no one's going to know this for sure other than the Giants people, other than the members of the Giants that were in that draft room that night. But I believe the Giants were completely set on Devontae Smith at number 11. The Eagles, I think, heard that the Giants were, and that's another thing too. If you disagree with me, now I would love to hear your opinion on why you don't think that. But if you disagree with me, then why did the Eagles trade up? If the Giants weren't going to take Devontae Smith, the Eagles should have just waited one more pick, right? The Eagles must have known. They must have heard something. The rumblings that started in the beginning of the day, there was no way they just randomly trade up one pick to take Devontae Smith just to do that. If the Giants were going to take him, they would have just went ahead and drafted him at number 12. So I definitely think the Giants did get kind of a little bit of got a little finesse there in a way. The Eagles went up, took Devontae Smith, and they kind of were like, they kind of jumped in line. They kind of just cut them in line and were like, hey, we'll take him. And the Giants kind of got left there with like, all right, well, what do we do now? And that's what I mean why they went in with an open mind. I would, without a doubt, think that the Giants, right when they saw the Eagles trade up, they realized, hey, the Bears might be a team that's interested. Let's call them. And right then and there, they got the deal done. That's how I saw the Giants go into this draft. Now, the one issue with the Giants, because the wide receiver pick, I think this is a pick that we got to see how it plays out. I could see, like I said, the second round pick, the guy out of Georgia, Aziz Olari, that's a steal. How he fell to number 50 is besides me. He just has a steal. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a big impact player on that Giants defense. That's a very good pick. Now, the first round pick definitely confuses me a little bit. Did not have Kadarius Toney going to the Giants. Now, does that mean it's a bad pick? No, it's just surprising. Talk about surprising picks. Now, the Giants were also in a little bit of an interesting situation because they had some receivers on the board, but were they totally sold on all those guys? I look at this, like I said, Giants went into this with more of an open mind. I look at this pick this way for the New York Giants. And if you're a Giants fan that doesn't like the pick, because I definitely believe Giants fans are split on this pick. If you're a Giants fan that doesn't like the pick, you can look at it either way. I could look at it as, what are we doing, right? I could see that way. I could also see, hey, we're getting guys versatile. We're getting a guy that can punt return. He's ran before. He can be a receiver. He can do a whole lot. So you're getting a little bit of a utility man on the football field. Now, the one issue with the Giants draft is where's the offensive line? Did they address the offensive line? Did they? No, they did not address the offensive line. And sure, they went out and got a couple undrafted free agents. They're not going to start. Not everyone you pick up. Football fans got to realize this. Just because you pick up a player or draft a player doesn't mean they're going to be this some stud that's the best player in the league and going to be this good. No. If anything, I'm scared as a Giants fan with the offensive line. I'm worried if I'm not a Giants fan, but if I was, I would be worried. The Giants definitely, they got a steal in the second round. The first round pick, a wide receiver, it's interesting. It's a surprising move. I don't know if that's a move right now you could sit here and destroy. I don't know if you can really sit here and destroy the move. I don't know if you can. I don't know if that's fair to sit here and just say how bad of a move it is, when, to be honest, we really don't know too much about the guy. Right? We know he's versatile. We've seen some of his talent. But at the same time, it's like, is this guy going to be a fit in the offense? How are the Giants going to use him? Like, we don't even know how the Giants are going to use him. They could go ahead and strictly use him as a punt returner and maybe like a fourth option, fifth option at receiver. They could completely blow off his punt returning ability and put him in at third receiver. What are the Giants going to do with him? That's one of the things, too. The Giants could also use him almost as a Cordell Patterson. He can run, too. He reminds me a little bit of like a Cordell Patterson. A guy who can run. A guy who can punt return. A guy who can catch the ball and make plays. So that's a pick I feel like we got to see what the Giants do with him. But the Giants didn't address the offensive line, and that's an issue. And yes, you could say, oh, well, they had rookies out there and they played better towards the end of the year. Not really. Not really. The sack numbers were still up. You got to look at the numbers too. You can't just go off of what you hope, right? You got to go off the numbers. Sometimes the numbers can help you and they can also hurt you. It's not my problem when Daniel Jones is laying on his back every play because they don't have an offensive line. The Giants definitely should have addressed offensive line in the draft. They didn't. They obviously believe in the guys that are there. And I've always mentioned this. Obviously, these franchise organizations believe it's best in the team. But if I was Daniel Jones, I would definitely be a little concerned. And they went out and got Kenny Golladay, which even gives you even more of a reason like, hey, let's get him some protection so we can give the ball to Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is an excellent deep ball threat. Let's get Daniel Jones some protection so you can actually have the opportunity to throw the ball downfield to Kenny Golladay instead of having to run out of the pocket every play. I would grade the Giants draft much higher if they went with offensive linemen. At least one. Like, you can't tell me you didn't even go with an offensive lineman in round 3, an offensive lineman in round 4, or an offensive lineman in round 6. Obviously, they had 2 picks in round 6. Now, I get it. You might want to build some defensive depth, and they needed an edge rusher. But your defense was the strength of your team last season. There's no need for a cornerback. There's no need for a running back. I look at it this way with the Giants. The Giants should have did this. Their final 2 picks, just draft 2 offensive linemen. Bring them into training camp, see what they do. See what they do. If they don't work out, they don't work out. If they work out, boom, you got a steal. Obviously, now I would have took an offensive lineman, honestly, with your first round pick. If I was the Giants too, if the Giants weren't going to trade back, you could have looked at offensive lineman there too. Rashawn Slater, guy out of Northwestern, you could look at that. But if I was the Giants and you were heading into the 6th round, there was no need to draft a running back, no need to draft a corner either. I would have went out, took 2-3 offensive linemen with those final 2 to 3 picks. Just grab 3 guys, 3 big dudes, see what they can do. Bring them in. If they're good, they're good. If they're average. They'll get their time. They'll get their snaps. Try to put them in. See how it works. Something like that. And I've always said that about offensive line. You can never have enough offensive linemen. There's always mixing and turning and smashing and, mushing and all that stuff with the offensive line. So I definitely think the one Giants mistake, and it's not even really a mistake, it's a big mistake, is not going after an offensive lineman. And you could say, oh, well, okay, we want a receiver. Okay, you wanted a receiver in the first round. You wanted the edge in the second round. I get that. What about 3rd, 4th, and 2 6th? What about the 3rd round? The 3rd round's a golden round for the offensive line. And someone I know is a Giants fan too. They were saying we could go off our offensive lineman in the 3rd round. No, instead you go for a cornerback. when the cornerback's not even your top need because you have Bradbury, who had an excellent year last season. So definitely I think the Giants, in a way, they took positions, they took guys that are solid, but they passed up on their biggest need, which is definitely a little odd to me. But, I mean, it's Dave Gettleman after all, so he's a guy that you really got to just be open-minded with him because he usually goes into the draft with an open mind of, you know what, we're just going to make a pick and we're going to run with it. That's how I see it. And, I think 95, 99% of Giants fans would agree with me that they should have took an offensive lineman. I mean, I don't see how you can't think that. Sure, you have 3 rookies. Okay, Andrew Thomas did not look good. I get it, you got to give him another year. But what about the 2 other rookies? Really? And then, Nate Solder. He's going to be a real stud. He took a pay cut, so he's going to be back to the old Nate Solder. He's old. He's not the same guy anymore. You're just not going to get it out of him. So, definitely that's the one issue with the New York Giants is their offensive line. And like I said, it ain't my problem when Daniel Jones is on his back every play. And that's something that the Jets did better than the Giants. They've started to build up the offensive line. And you could say this, the Giants drafted an offensive lineman last season. Well, so did the Jets. You got to continue to build. One offensive lineman isn't going to make the offensive line. That's what the Jets are doing well right now. They're building up, and they're starting on Zach Wilson's blind side. Zach Wilson's righty. He's going to be looking this way. They built up on the left side. That's his blind side. So, like I said, that's one issue. But, I definitely think, I would say the way this draft went for the Jets, I would say was a lot of, I would say Giants, it was a little bit surprising because I didn't really think it was surprising picks. Jets, it was kind of expected, but there was also a couple surprising things in there as well because I don't think many of us saw them taking Elijah Moore especially. I think the entire NFL is surprised about that, not because it's a surprising move, but the fact that Elijah Moore fell that far. But yeah, I really liked the Jets draft. I really did. I think this is one of our better drafts we've had in recent memory. I really do. And I really believe that that Zach Wilson is the answer for the Jets. And you could sit here and say, it's the same thing. I'll tell you why. Because Zach Wilson's not only the Jets quarterback, but he's Joe Douglas' quarterback. And Joe Douglas will do a good job building around him, and he already has started that. So, that's how I see that. Kind of an updated look at the Jets, roster here. It's kind of just one of those things. But it's just kind of looking at the roster here. Obviously, the Jets, Elijah Moore and guys like that, and Corey Davis and guys like that. So, it obviously. I just hope that. Obviously all these picks turn out to be successful guys for the Jets, and I definitely think, we're headed in the right direction. I will say this, and a lot of people might disagree with me when I say this, but people still, it's amazing how you can watch sports and still don't realize this. But a head coach can make that much of a difference. And Robert Saleh is already making a big impact on the Jets before he's even stepped on the field. Before he's even coached the game. There's guys that are coming to the New York Jets that are hungry to play because of him. Because they like him. Because they want to play for a guy like him. And that's how I see it right now with the Jets. And I believe it's only going to be up from here. And same thing there with Zach Wilson. He's excited. He believes that we are headed in the right direction. And, they're building around him really well. Which I think is another thing that's super exciting. So, and another thing, too, is surrounding young talent, it's only going to make your team better. Getting young talent only is going to make your team better. It's not going to make it worse. So, the Jets will, with the young talent and guys like that, they will only be able to get better with the new coach and stuff like that. Because the guys are going to learn, they're going to grow, they're going to get better, they're going to improve. That's what every player goes through in the NFL. You got to learn, you got to grow, you got to be, smart and, find different situations and, all that stuff. So the Jets will only improve with the young talent, especially with the coaching staff and stuff like that. So, definitely a good NFL draft. Overall, really, really enjoyed it. And you look at the Jets rosters, you got guys like, Zach Wilson and, Corey Davis and now Elijah Moore and Crowder and Mosley and Quinnen Williams and guys like that. And you look at the Giants roster, you got guys like Galladay and, Barkley returns. Jones is a big year for him. Slayton and Blake Martinez. And then you head up front to, Dalvin Tomlinson and Bradbury and same thing with the Jets. Look at them too. You got guys like Marcus May and then, Mosley and Hewitt and Crowder and, your running backs who Michael Carter possibly, right? There's so many different options. Obviously, Wilson leading the way there at quarterback. So, definitely an exciting draft. Definitely a good draft. And a great way to cap it all off here today. So, with all that being said, coming up next, I'm going to do a little bit of a Yankees update here. I've done these a couple times this year already. Going to continue to do them. But I decided today to do another one of those. I've been talking a lot of football, so kind of shifted a little bit here to baseball. And, kind of review kind of what the Yankees, they're kind of, some of their upcoming games and, look ahead for them. And also, kind of talk about them. Talk about their pitching, their hitting, and stuff like that, because I really wanted to get into that. So we'll get a Yankees update coming up next. Alrighty, so the New York Yankees right now, to kind of give you a little bit of an update, they are 14-14, 500 record. We're currently 2.5 games back from the division lead. So that's the Red Sox, who are 17-12. So it's actually kind of funny. 17-12, to be honest, the Yankees are still only 2.5 back. So right now, the standings in the American League East goes: Boston Red Sox at 17-12, top of the division. Toronto Blue Jays 14-12 at top of the division. And I would like to say this about the Toronto Blue Jays: they're on a 3-game win streak. They are 7-3 in their last 10. The Blue Jays are about to get really hot. They got George Springer back. He's been smoking the ball. 3 home runs and like 5 RBIs already in just a couple games back. The Blue Jays, this is now when they're really about to get hot. So I would say within the next week or so, the Blue Jays are going to probably be at the top of that division. Then you got the Yankees at 14-14, also considered more of a hot team right now. 7-3 in their last 10. Currently a 3-game win streak, coming fresh off a sweep of the Detroit Tigers, who are last in the AL Central. Then you got the Tampa Bay Rays, 14-15, 3 games back. They are 4-6 in their last 10, and they are on a 1-game win streak. Then you got the Orioles, who are 13-15, 3.5 games back, and are 5-5 in their last 10. Now, I would like to say this. I would not really say that this is any surprise. Now, actually, I take that back what I said. Now, looking at it, it's kind of surprising. Now, the Blue Jays being second isn't a surprise. I think we all can agree. I had the Blue Jays finishing second. The Rays finishing third, fourth area, I could see. The Red Sox being in first, that's surprising. Orioles being in last, that's not surprising. So I'd say there's only like one surprise here, and that's the Red Sox. The Blue Jays aren't a surprise. The Yankees are a surprise, actually. Here I am talking about other teams, glaring right at the Yankees are there. So the Yankees are a surprise, too. I think the Yankees very well could win the division. Now, we're obviously only 28 games in. They've still got time to do so, but obviously the Yankees are in one of those interesting situations where, we're starting to come around the corner. But I thought this was interesting. The Yankees are as even as it can get. They're 14-14, which is 500. So the same amount of wins, same amount of losses. They're 7-7 on home, 7-7 on the road. So as a Yankee fan, you can't really sit here and say, oh, we've been atrocious on the road, or oh, we've been atrocious at home. We've been 500 at both of them. So something's got to give here, and we'll find out this series because it's an odd number of games. So the Yankees won't be able to go like 7.5 here or something like that because the Yankees have 3 games. So let's take a look here. I'm going to give you kind of just their upcoming series. So the Yankees' upcoming series are as followed. And you look at it and you're sitting here looking at it and you're like, wow, we've got our serious opportunity here to take some games. I mean, we really do. I mean, the Yankees have an opportunity here to really start to, try to kick up and get into gear. And we got the Astros starting tomorrow. We have a 3-game set starting tomorrow against the Astros. We play the Astros Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're home for that. We're in the middle of a 9-game homestand. We've had 3 games so far. We got 3 against the Astros. Then we have 3 against the Nationals. That will close out our 9-game homestand after our 8-game road trip. Then we head on the road for what? Oh gosh, we had on the road for a long time. That's 3 games, 6. Then we had on the road for a 10-day road trip. 3 starting out in Tampa, then 3 in Baltimore, and then 3 in Texas. So, or 4 in Texas, actually, apologize. So 4 in Texas, and then we come back home, 3 against the White Sox, 3 against the Blue Jays, then back on the road, 3 against the Tigers, and then back home against the Rays. So that's the entire month of May. Now, I know I just went through all that, but that's the entire month of May. Now, the closest games here, I'll read the next 3 series. So it's the Astros for 3 games, then 3 against the Nationals, then 3 against the Rays. So realistically, I see the Yankees, if we continue to hit well, and the Yankees, as crazy as it may sound, and I would like to thank Garrett Cole here, because 90% of it's Garrett Cole. The Yankees right now have, overall as a record starter, I believe, have the best in the American League ERA by starters. I believe we have a 3.02, which is mainly because of Garrett Cole's, 1 point something ERA, and in Kluber's dominant performance yesterday. Now, I always say this in sports, and obviously the Yankees got the 2-0 win yesterday, and we didn't hit well, but I always say this in sports. I would like to say this, though, one thing. Giancarlo Stanton has been amazing. I mean, the guy's in the middle of a 9-game hit streak. He had 3 3-hit games. Then he had a day off. Then he came back and he had another hit. Stanton right now is arguably the Yankees' hottest hitter on the team. I mean, he's up there with the highest average. He's batting .271 right now, which is up there with the highest average on the team. I like Stanton a lot. I like him a lot. And, some fans are just a little impatient with him. Just because, people got to realize, and I always say this all the time, Stanton's not here to get on base every single play. It's impossible to do. No player in the MLB can get on base every single play. It's literally impossible. You would have to be just insane. DJ LeMahieu's really close to it. It seems like he's always on base. Seems like he's always getting a hit. But with Stanton, he's not a guy that's going to come here and hit 340. He's not. He's a home run hitter. He's a big-time guy like that. He gets hits in big situations. That's kind of him. That's why we paid him all the money. That's why we got him here. And he's a DH, too, which is his job. Now, he can play outfield, but the Yankees choose not to put him in the outfield. So that's something that a lot of times people throw on Stanton. That's not Stanton. That's the Yankees. The Yankees don't put him in the outfield. Stanton is fine with playing the outfield. The Yankees just don't do it. So I would be the one to defend Stan on that one. That's the Yankees. So he's DHing. He could play the outfield. He's taking reps out there, but the Yankees choose to put him at DH. So that's not him. I know a lot of people, definitely destroy him for that, but that's not his fault. That's the Yankees. He can't do anything about that. He can, and the Yankees obviously believe they've got a stable center fielder there in Aaron Hicks, which makes me laugh a little bit because that's not the answer. But I like to say this about the Yankees, and I've always said this in sports. As much as a win is a win, right? Doesn't matter if you get it up against the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. In this case, it was the worst team in the league against the Tigers, who are 8-21, or I believe the Rockies might even be worse. And the Yankees pitching has been obviously better. But I want to say this, and I just hope that the Yankees can start to do this against better teams. Like, we have the Astros coming up. They're a team that's 15-13. They're almost a similar situation like us. They're in a similar situation like us. They're kind of in a mediocre mode. They're kind of like a team that's, they're good, they're cruising, but they're like 15-13. They've got talent, but they haven't fully put it together yet. Same thing with the Yankees. We've got talent, we got bats, we got some solid pitchers, but we still haven't fully come around the corner yet. So the cheaters, this is a true opportunity for us to really, take advantage of them. We're going to have ultimate home field advantage. You're going to hear boos. You're going to see signs. You're going to see a lot of that stuff. Especially with the Yankees. They really hurt the Yankees. The entire MLB booed them. The Yankees will be even louder because the Yankees didn't make the World Series because of them cheating. We lost, obviously, in Game 7. Obviously, we were 1 game away from making the World Series. That was the year they cheated. So the Yankees and the Dodgers got impacted the most by the Astros because the Dodgers lost to them in the World Series and the Yankees ended up losing to them in the ALCS. It should have been Yankees-Dodgers World Series. There shouldn't have been any question. Sure enough, it was the Astros who ended up making it. But I want to say this about the Astros is, with the Astros and with this opportunity here, like the Yankees, it's great when you can crush the bad teams. That's awesome. But please, can you beat like the Astros? Can you beat the Nationals? Like, take advantage of some of these games. Like, I want to see some good wins. And Kluber, no doubt, he was excellent yesterday. He was awesome. Kluber yesterday looked like vintage Kluber. He looked like Cleveland Indians Cy Young winning Kluber. 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 hits, no runs allowed. That was literally Cy Young Kluber. Kluber would do that almost every other night when he was with the Indians. And I said when we got Kluber, I said that I would love, for him to look something like what he was. I don't expect him to go out there and give me 8 innings every night. But I said I would like to give him 5, 6, 7 strong. Maybe 4, 5, 6 Ks around here. Around that, in that ballpark area. And boom, that's your game. And Kluber gave us a lot yesterday. But the Yankees, we got to start to really beat some of these good teams. Because, yes, we're 14-14, but we've got an opportunity here coming up. The Astros, big opportunity. Game tomorrow, ESPN. The Astros, there's going to be boos. There's going to be a lot of energy for the Yankees. There's going to be a lot of energy in that game. Right? The Yankees, there's going to be a lot of energy. And this is the first time the Astros are coming to Yankee Stadium since the whole sign-stealing scandal obviously got released. With fans, obviously. And the Yankees didn't even play the Astros last year in the stadium because I believe not, right? I don't believe so because they had to, they had played AL East and NL East. So that's something I wanted to say with the Yankees. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of energy, but the Yankees, I feel like, got to keep their cool, though. Right? Because I think there's going to be some chatter. Neither of these teams like each other. There's going to be a lot of energy. It's going to feel like a rival game. And this is an opportunity for the Yankees tomorrow to really blow up, really jolt. We're 14-14, 3-game win streak, 7-3 in our last 10. Pitching's pitching better. I believe you might get Cole on the mound for that series. Nah, I don't know if you will, actually. What, he pitched the first game of the Tiger series? No, right? Did he pitch the first game of the Tiger series? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, he pitched the first game of the Tiger series. So that would then mean he had a day off, that's 2, then a day off today. I believe Cole is in line to possibly pitch. He will either pitch the Thursday afternoon game, which will be the 3rd game of that set, or the first game of the National Series. But either way, if you get Cole on the mound against his former team, that's going to add more energy to it. So I would love, the Yankees are playing well right now, and I'm happy about it. I'm still not satisfied, though. We got to get over that 500 mark and get back to playing baseball that we all know we're capable of. But we're rolling right now. We got to keep it going here as we get playing some of these better teams. And that's kind of my little bit of a Yankees update here. We got to start taking advantage of some of these teams here. This energy, the home, this homestand, right? Take advantage of it. Let's get some wins. We're doing that right now. We're 3-0 in this homestand. Let's keep it going. So, let's get into the New York sports update here. As for yesterday in the NBA, the Raptors won, 76ers won, Spurs won, Kings won, 76ers won, Kings won, Suns won, Heat won, Knicks won, and Trailblazers won. The Nets also won yesterday, the Nets lost yesterday, 117-114. We moved to 43-22 on the season. Obviously just a tough loss. KD had a big game, but wasn't enough. As for today, we got the Pistons and the Magic. I'll give Pistons the win. Wizards, Pacers, I'll give Wizards the win. Pelicans, Warriors, give Pelicans the win. Hawks, Trailblazers, give Hawks the win. 76ers, Bulls, give 76ers the win. Grizzlies, Knicks, give Grizzlies the win. Nuggets, Lakers, give Nuggets the win. And Jazz, Spurs, give Jazz the win. As for the NHL, yesterday, the Lightning beat the Red Wings. They got the job done 2-1. Obviously, the Nets did win over the weekend. They did win, I believe so, right? Yes, they did win on, no, they lost, actually. So the Nets right now, they lost both games. I forgot about that Trailblazers game. I did see that game, I promise. But Forgot that game was on Friday. I thought it was for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, so the Lightning obviously got the win yesterday. Rangers obviously took a tough loss over the weekend there. As for today's games, we got the Hurricanes, Blackhawks. I'll give Hurricanes the win. Bruins, Devils. I'll give Bruins the win. Islanders, Sabres. I'll give Islanders the win. Jets, Senators. Give Jets the win. Maple Leafs, Canadians. Give Maple Leafs the win. Penguins, Flyers. Give Penguins the win. Predators, Blue Jackets. Give Predators the win. Panthers, Stars. Give Panthers the win. Blues, Ducks. Give Blues the win. Golden Knights, Wild. Give Golden Knights the win. Coyotes, Kings. Give Coyotes the win. Oilers, Canucks. Give Oilers the win. And Avalanche, Sharks. Give Avalanche the win. Rangers also played today. Rangers come in this game 26-20-6. Capitals come in this game 32-14-5. The over-under for this game is 6. This game comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus, and you can also find this game on MSG2 and the MSG networks there. I'm going to give Capitals the win. I mean, it stinks, but I think they win. I hope the Rangers win, but that's how I see. Obviously, like I mentioned, Yankees swept the series Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have a day off today, but today's games, we got the Phillies, Brewers. I'll give Phillies the win. Dodgers, Cubs. I'll give Dodgers the win. Twins, Rangers. Give Twins the win. Indians, Royals. Give Indians the win. Rockies, Giants. Give Rockies the win. Rays, Angels. Give Rays the win. Blue Jays, A's. Give Blue Jays the win. And actually, I'll give A's the win. And no, Blue Jays the win, yeah. Mariners, Orioles. Give Mariners the win. And Padres, Pirates. Give Padres the win. Mets play. They're 11-11. They start a road trip with St. Louis. I believe that's a 3-game road trip. Wainwright's on the mound for the Cardinals. They didn't say anything else there with the Mets. Mets, they got a good win yesterday. I'll give Mets the win. I guess so. Alrighty. Now time to get to fantasy. So fantasy baseball. I lost last week. Obviously, I lost 351 to 256. So tough loss, but gotta find a way to bounce back here. Today I've got going Will Smith, Jay Cronenworth, Whit Merrifield, Josh Johnson, Marcus Semien, Jed Lowry, Matt Olson, Austin Meadows, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Michael Taylor, and Austin Nola. And today I've got going Tyler Glasnow and Frankie Montas. Hopefully Glasnow and they get the job done. As for fantasy basketball, I lost 3,145 to 2,847. But today I've got going Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Anthony Davis, Jonas Valanciunas, Jeremy Grant, and Montrezl Harrell. Injury update is as follows. Grant Knee will not play Monday against the Magic, and Kemba Walker is out. Walker Oblique will not play Sunday against Portland, so that's that. And then Fred VanVleet's also day-to-day. VanVleet hip will not play Sunday against the Lakers. Blake Murphy of the Athletic Report. So that's still that. My fantasy team, I'm in the third place game now, but my fantasy team is just taking a beating with injuries there. So I got to find a way to fix that. As for fantasy hockey, I'm currently losing 162 to 131. But today I've got going Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Anzes Kopitar, Braden Shen. Let's see. Braden Shen. Brock Beausier, Joe Pavelski, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, David Perron, Ryan Strome, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Adam Larson, Jacob Kitcherin, Justin Falk, and Nicholas Backstrom. Today I made a move. I added Mike Mackenzie Weegar, and I dropped Sam Reinhart. So it gives me an opportunity to get another defenseman, as Shea Weber is injured right now. Weber upper body isn't in the lineup for Monday's matchup with the Maple Leafs. John Liu of TSN Montreal reports. And my goalies are Semyon Varlamov and Cam Talbot in goal. So that's a move I made there. But still deciding, and I obviously still deciding on what I'm going to do with my goalies still, who I'm going to play. That will probably come down to kind of just matchups and stuff, depending on who I play there. That's the one thing with goalies, is when you get multiple goalies that play, it definitely gets a little tough to choose which goalie you're going to be. Definitely choose which goalie you're going to play, because goalies are big. They could be big for your team and get you a lot of points. So definitely want to make the right decision there. Alrighty, so anyway, so with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was obviously another good podcast in the books. Another good podcast, great podcast in the book. So, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.